Hi friends, you're listening to the Shattered Ceilings podcast with your hosts Stephanie and Adriana. We're here to discuss the importance of mental health from the perspective of two first-generation immigrants. Join in weekly as we dive into important topics such as relationships, parenting, and cultural barriers. Here, we get real and candid as we explore what disrupting the status quo looks like for each of us.
Hi friends, welcome back to Shattered Ceilings podcast. We have Denisa with us today, Denisa Barbur. I know Denisa, and I'll just kind of give like a background. I know Denisa, more than 10 years ago, I think. We met, our moms were kind of working in the same industry, and I think we stayed friends on social media, but we didn't really keep in touch because life gets crazy busy, especially after that age, right? Like you have you're finishing high school, college, and everything. Well, I was 16. You were...
How old are you now?
I'm 28.
I'm 30.
Okay, so you were 18, yeah. So you're graduating.
Yeah.
But I always just kind of kept track with her on her social media. She's killing it. She's such a hustler. I always admired her hustle. She's super driven, like her mom, successful. And it was really interesting because a couple years ago, Denise actually became a mom for the first time. She has two beautiful little boys. And it was cool to see how she juggled being such a hands-on mom with also working. So I always thought, I always had this topic of working moms to do an episode on, and I just thought Denisa was the perfect person to come and share her insight with us. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Denisa.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is such an honor, honestly. This is my first podcast, so I'm excited and anxious all in one.
First of many.
First of many, hopefully, yes.
I hope so. So can you just introduce yourself to us, share a bit about your background and your family?
Certainly. So my parents, I'm an only child. My parents came here to Chicago actually in 2001. I was 8.
I didn't know you came in 2001. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So quite a while
Learning
ago.
New things.
I guess you can say I'm more American now than Romanian, but I still like to think that I've held on to the roots of my culture and that mentality in some ways. Mm-hmm. And we moved to Arizona in 2004. Mm-hmm. That's been a change, and I love the Arizona weather, the climate, mm-hmm. the palm trees,
Do you miss Chicago?
You know, I miss my friends and a certain aspect of it, but I think Arizona is my home now.
Okay.
And I feel, at ease here. Mm-hmm. I feel like I think I told you I have that seasonal depression, mm-hmm. and especially here in Arizona, that's one thing that's kind of an offset to Arizona in my opinion is once it hits November or October mm-hmm. even, the sun goes down rather early. Mm-hmm. So 5:30, 6:30, mm-hmm. it's pitch black.
Okay.
Where I'm, where it kind of condenses the day and into shorter time mm-hmm. to get things done. And especially as a working mom, mm-hmm. I feel more anxious and overwhelmed with having to check off things off my to-do list and just, really kind of balancing and juggling everything.
Thank you so much for sharing. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's definitely, maybe you'll come on for
myself.
Maybe you'll come on for another topic and we'll talk about that because that is super real. Yeah, I agree. A lot of people I think move here too just because so many days are sunny, and that definitely does affect your overall being. So you have been in Arizona since 2004. Mm-hmm. Okay, and tell me a little bit about your background with your career.
Well, it kind of just fell in my lap, as I like to say. My mom owned a couple group homes in the Phoenix area, and I kind of grew up in that industry, helping around, caregiving, mm-hmm. and then I started to do some management, paperwork, medications, and this was on the way to med school, practically. I grew up in a very traditional Romanian family with a forward-thinking mentality, I must say. Mm-hmm. But my parents always guided me, telling me, Denise, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Those are the careers you want to be a part of.
A lot of people who can relate to that.
So with that being said, on my way to med school while I was in college, my mom said, Denise, why don't you do placement? At mm-hmm. one point, all of her homes were full. So mm-hmm. I ended up kind of doing this pro bono to families that were coming through her doors.
That's wonderful.
And guiding them to different communities and resources and mm-hmm. group homes within the nearby area.
That's amazing.
So what, came to be, now my career as a senior living advisor, it kind of started off as my mom kind of nudging me, hey, do this. This is, and he provides mm-hmm. you flexibility. Mm-hmm. And here I am, 8-9 years later, mm-hmm. still doing this now.
That's
this
amazing.
Is full time.
Amazing. So and you're a nurse as well.
I'm a nurse. I actually went back for my nursing degree and license, as I thought it would be a complementary aspect to doing what I do. And plus I love aesthetics. So I'm kind of starting in that endeavor
Very
here
cool.
shortly.
I can't wait to see you go into aesthetics because that's going to be really, really fun to see that
I think
transition.
that's always been kind of in the back of my mind.
So it's kind of like you're rediscovering maybe the things that you'd wanted to do before and kind of integrating them with everything else that.
And I think the
cool.
senior living industry and aesthetics and really, kind of proactive aging has so many things in common. So kind of those common denominators.
Very
kind of interesting because you work with end of life, hospice, chronic diseases, and then you work with the outside person, right? Kind of making them feel as young and as youthful and as confident as they feel on the outside as they do inside.
I love that.
So.
That's so cool. Super cool. Tell us a little bit about your family too.
My parents have always been super hardworking. I think I have some great role models in them.
Okay. You're a mom of two.
I'm a mom of two, two boys. My oldest is 3. My youngest is 1. So they're 22 and a half months apart.
They keep you busy.
They keep me busy. I don't know how other moms do it with multiple children. I've always wanted a big family. But, and I still want to have a growing family. It's just a matter of kind of juggling, my career and still providing myself the attention and care that I need as a person at the end of the day, while also, providing a holistic approach to their upbringing. So.
And I love that because you are super hands-on. Like if, Denisa, in a personal setting, you are such an invested mother, like in the best sense of the word. You
appreciate it.
Yeah, I love that about you. You take parenting so seriously. You realize that, it's super important to be hands-on, and I love that. And I look forward to seeing how you're going to bridge that gap and maybe teach us, because that's...
I'm trying to teach myself, and I'm trying to get all the resources that I can. I'm trying to read books, but there's only so much that you can implement, right, into your daily life, because if I was talking to somebody, if only there would be a parenting manual, you do this and then your kids will do A, B, or C. What if they do E, D, or F?
And every child is so different.
And then even then there's so many different, aspects of, well, they really didn't behave as Dr. So-and-so author said, what do I do now? And it becomes so overwhelming because we're hit with all this information from online, from reading. You're supposed to be so invested. You're supposed to be so well-rounded and really understanding and engaging with your children.
But not too
much, but letting them kind of soar on their own and be independent. It's almost like there's such a fine line. And honestly, I'm at that stage where, although I'm in my mom era, I need to kind of, see what works best for us as a family unit. And at the end of the day, it's what makes sense to you, because it's your family.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not, I certainly welcome input and recommendations. But I think at the end of the day, it's, your life, your schedule, your career objectives, your dreams, your goals, your children's personalities that come into play, your upbringing, your morals, your principles, values, right?
And it also matters who the recommendations are coming from.
Certainly.
A lot of times, we definitely go back and forth in the immigrant community because everyone has something to say. Or I don't know if you've had that, but I've definitely had that, and especially being the youngest. I love my older sisters. They give me great advice, but sometimes it's like my kids are not your kids.
Exactly.
And every child is so different. And like you said, then you have maybe your spouse's upbringing come into play. So I love what you mentioned when you say that it really comes down to a child just being happy and healthy with their parents. And at the end of the day, we're all learning, but it helps to have the community. And I know you're going to touch on that in a little bit.
So I think having that community is vital, right? Because if you look at the family unit hundreds of years ago, and not just, it used to be so united. It used to be so supportive with grandparents, an intergenerational approach to upbringing, right? Where in a household, there used to be not just the parents, but the children, the grandparents, the great-grandchildren, right? Everybody kind of helping in whatever ways. And pitching in wherever there needs to be, should somebody not have the time or somebody's sick, right? It's almost like, God forbid you're sick, or you say, I need a mental health day, or, this is just too much to take in, or whatever it is, whether you're stimulated with your children or you have so much going on with work. I think it's important to parent out loud. And what I mean by that is asking for help. I remember with my oldest, I almost wanted to kind of bring everything on board and kind of put it on my shoulders, thinking that, oh gosh, I was superhuman, super mom. I wore that badge, like I'm able to do everything. And although I am able to do everything, that doesn't mean that I'm going to stretch myself so thin where I won't be asking and actively receiving help.
Yes.
Whether from, in-laws, parents, friends, why not?
Yeah, exactly. And that helps to have somebody in your corner. And that means you're going to be the best version of yourself for your child. And what you said about parenting in a village like that, that's kind of how we grew up too. I mean, I don't know if it applies to you, but, my grandparents helped raise me. And that was huge, just having that, support system, because parenting is not made to do alone. And I think, like you said, I feel like we're similar in being kind of type A. We want to do it all alone, but we're not created to do it alone. And it's not even for the benefit of us, the kids. Nobody's really winning. So definitely parenting out loud. I love that tip. That's awesome. So what inspired you to pursue your career while being a mother?
Well, one thing, this may sound crude, but I always knew that I wanted to have children, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to be that stay-at-home mom. I admire wholly, and it's so commendable, the moms that have multiple children, and really commit their lives to caring for them and bringing them in the comfort of their home. And homemaking is really, it's a lot. It's more than a full-time job. I was reading an article where homemaking, stay-at-home moms, basically they did a longitudinal study where a stay-at-home mom job is equivalent to 2.5 jobs.
Yeah, I believe it.
Full-time jobs.
I believe that.
So if you look at it that way, honestly, I don't know that I'm cut out, to be honest, to be a stay-at-home mom. I've always wanted to kind of achieve certain goals for myself outside of the home, still being involved with my children, of course, and kind of, raising them in an older mentality, but still forward-thinking approach, if that makes sense. So I always say I'm very receptive to newer ways of, parenting and, different ways of disciplining, whether it's a soft discipline or more, not spanking manner, but maybe I don't have the words right now, with, just kind of embodying and really holistically approaching your parenthood as a journey, because sometimes as a working mom, it's almost like I want to have my day cut out in half a day I work, I'm super productive, and half of the day I'm home with children, but that's not how it works, right? Absolutely. So having that home life work balance is a matter of understanding the concept and the reality that some days or some weeks, you may be more invested with, caring for your children, while others, your work may necessitate more of your energy and attention.
Yeah.
Right?
I love
so it's almost, you have to be very fluid, and you constantly have, and I was writing in some of my notes, you constantly have to be open to, reprioritizing, as I like to say, your agenda with compassion and flexibility.
Yeah. Right. And that, I don't know how it is for you, but for me, that was really difficult. I'm not a person who likes change, and I'm a person who, like you said, puts a lot on myself. So just having that grace for yourself to be like, this is a season. Every season has its beginning and its end, and just embrace what is in that season. Do your best that you can by your kids and by yourself also, because we'll touch on taking care of yourself, how that really just...
That's one of my favorite topics, actually.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad. So were there any particular challenges you faced as a working mom, and how did you overcome them?
Like I said, I think I was very adamant about, kind of wearing that badge. Like, I'm a mom. I'm able to have a successful career while still successfully, I think that's the key word, raising my child, or now my children, right? So I was almost reluctant and, skeptical to ask for help. Like, hey, mom, I have a work meeting and it's going to be lasting longer than I thought. Are you able to pick up, the boys from school? Or, really relying on any resource possible. Like, I will take advantage. Just about a week ago, I had to call one of my friends and say, hey, I need you to, I need your help, and I need you to watch Lexington for 4 hours while I do something. And mind you, he was very, well behaved. I still was thinking, gosh, like, oh, I should have not done that for myself. But retrospectively thinking, that was a good decision. Like, I always tell my friends, it does take a village, and don't just rely on your parents or your in-laws and grandparents, because you really should be activating all of, like pulling upon every string possible, because I'm sure if your friends needed, your assistance or your time with their children, you would be more than happy to help, right? That's really what friendship is about.
A lot of times I think we're our biggest critic. We make up, or I'll speak for myself, make up these scenarios in my head that never exist. Because like you said, people are happy to help. And I agree, for me, I found that peace in mothering and motherhood once I started school and working, when I accepted that it's the best to delegate as much as I can, and to whoever is willing to help. And I want to touch on something that it's probably going to be a sore spot for some people, but a lot of moms think of motherhood without even realizing it, but they treat motherhood like their cross to bear in life. And in them not taking the time for themselves, not asking for help, motherhood becomes this super tiring and exhausting and negative thing, where then they're parenting out of anger, frustration, stress, exhaustion. That's not
running on fumes.
Yes, that's not what parenting is. So I love what you said about that delegating. I think when you accept that for yourself, and my husband definitely talked to me a lot about that in the beginning, like, your mom wants to help, don't reach out, don't hesitate. My sisters, once I started doing that, I was like, wait, no, like I was telling myself the wrong thing. People are really happy to help. It benefits everybody, because at the end of the day, kids are happiness,
right,
bottled up, and
and they have lots of energy. So, which I wish I had a fourth of what my children have on a daily basis.
I agree. So kind of transitioning into more of a focus and a spotlight on the immigrant community, maybe, because we're both Romanian. In many societies, also immigrant society, there's often a stigma that's associated with working moms. Can you share your experiences or insights regarding this?
Oh gosh, that's a very heavy question there. And I'm sure a lot of...
I don't want to set you up.
Yeah, no. And it's a lot of, working moms and just moms from a different culture outside of America. And even, here in America, I think, being a mom and being a prospering, thriving, sane person is, it runs heavy, because we're pulled in so many different directions. And I think I was sharing with you, if you're working, why are you working? You're neglecting your children. If you're not working, you're not contributing to the household income, right? So it's this double standard across the board. And, and certainly there are, natural, organic double standards, because women are women, men are men. We all have our different, advantages and disadvantages, weaknesses and strengths. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to realize that, motherhood in general is hard, let alone somebody, that whether because of their dreams or, I think it doesn't require justification as to why a mom is working or not. I think that's what it boils down to. Whether they want to move forward and progress in their, dreams. Before becoming a mom, I'm sure we all had, a dream. Did you want to do, did you want to be an author, or did you want to be a bodybuilder, or whether it's a hobby that has turned into a career, or whether it's, moving up the hierarchy in corporate America. I think not forgetting the reason why, of who you are, number one, as an individual, aside from motherhood, because I feel that nowadays a lot of moms, and, I feel like I'm speaking for many of us, especially the first few years as your children are growing and you're finding yourself again, it's so important to, kind of sit back and say, okay, what do I want from life, from myself, from my goals, my visions, my objectives, and who do I want to count on to appeal towards, while still building the family that I envision for myself and achieving those goals financially, financial freedom and independence, right? Or just contributing to, your household because you want to be, the best possible version of yourself, whether that's a stay-at-home mom, no judge there, or whether you're wanting to be a, thriving career woman while still, raising your children to the best of your ability. Right. So I think the guilt factor comes into play no matter what. If you're a stay-at-home mom, everybody will have something to comment on, right?
Yeah.
Whether we're immigrants or not, it's almost like no matter what decision you take for your own family and for yourself as an individual, won't ever be a good enough response or justification for anybody.
Right. And I think that in and of itself is the key to unlocking the freedom in motherhood, because once you realize that, I always say this, people will always have something to say. Like, if I'm helping you, you love me. The minute I start working on myself, I'm the worst person. Everybody will always have something to say. Why not do the best by you and by your kids and by your family? And it doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, if you know that you're doing right by you and your family, that's all that matters.
I think so. And at the same time, that kind of goes into, all these questions have so many underlying topics of conversation that kind of overlap, if you ask me. Self-care into motherhood, right? It's a never-ending evolving process where I'm learning, and juggling and seeing what works, what doesn't, readjusting myself, my approach, my schedule, again, relying on the proper resources and people and within my community and support system. But for example, when I had my oldest, I didn't necessarily know that it was okay if I went to the gym. Gosh, like, how dare I go to the gym 1 hour, 5 days a week?
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm learning that I'm able to implement, okay, there's kids club. I pay a little bit more per month. They have fun with other children and amongst themselves in an indoor playground area, while I get to listen to podcasts, listen to music, decompress, do my mental, evolution there and physical well-being, right? While
recharge yourself, basically.
Right, while they're doing kids stuff, because there's only so much play that you can do at home.
Right.
So many play dates.
Right.
But so at the same time, it's almost like you need to have a schedule. Obviously, if things come up, you need to kind of be flexible when it comes to that. But at the same time, having a regimented, okay, Monday through Friday, this is kind of the, school, come back, eat, gym, they go to the park.
Kids thrive
right?
with that.
And then weekends, we have more flexibility. Not to mention there's so many days off nowadays, right? President's Day and fall break is coming up. So it's a multifaceted, and heavy question with the, judgmental outsiders. And I may even be, not just a victim, but a hypocrite of that, because sometimes I kind of find myself falling into the, oh gosh, I wonder why, that mom or that parent, those parents are doing things in that way. But then I need to kind of ground myself and say, okay, well, that's what works for them.
Yeah. And see, that's where the self-awareness comes into play. And we did an episode on matrescence and when a mother becomes a mom and learns how to couple her identity of herself with now becoming a mother. And that is such a hard process in and of itself. To have that self-awareness and that confidence in yourself and putting yourself first and penciling yourself into your schedule, I think that's really important.
I actually made a note of that in my notes. It's so interesting you touch upon that, because if you're not intentional about and putting boundaries with your schedule, both at work and within your private personal life, you will never be going out on dates with your husband anymore. Just like you need to plan, we have this birthday party coming up with, somebody from school at one of my child's class. You need to be intentional with your schedule. Like, okay, every 2 weeks, your husband and I, your husband and you go on dates, whether it's dinner, movies, whatever. And I think being intentional, again, having that flexibility, but at the same time not feeling guilty about it. It's such a heavy, it's a heavy load to be a mom.
Right. And I'll say in the beginning, it's difficult when you first start putting yourself first, putting your marriage first. The first couple times feels super awkward because it's something new that you're doing. But the more you do it, the more you see that the benefits outweigh any consequences, and your kids are happy. They get to spend time with grandparents, with cousins, whatever. Your child, again, another sore spot, but our children weren't made to stick next to our skirts for their whole lives. Like, that's not natural. We have these kids for 18, 20, however many years God gives them to us in our care under our roof to guide them. And then we have to, let them go and do the best that we can to instill the right qualities in them so they can be good members of society and hopefully do well for themselves, but they're not made to stay only next to us. And I know that's hard because we love our kids, more than life, more than we love ourselves. But in order to be the best for our kids, we have to love ourselves too, and pencil in that time. And I love that you mentioned that, is doing that with intention. Do you have any examples you could provide of where you felt judged or misunderstood as a working mom?
Oh gosh, I remember this incidents, really occurrences in life happening, right? So my oldest was born, and I went back to work after a few months, and I was pumping, of course, so that I can, provide milk for him. And, that's just a necessity. And that's kind of the, a philosophy and approach that I decided upon. So I was touring with a family as I do placement. And I had my LV pumps, which don't require any tubes and whatnot. So they're pretty silent. You just kind of put them in your bra and, they do their work. And after about 30 minutes of pumping or whatnot, of course, they stopped. So I had to disengage and say, hey, guys, I need to do a 5-minute break as I need to empty out my pumps with the milk and put it in my little cooler that I was always carrying around with me, I feel. And it's almost like I almost got this, like a double a double approach to, oh, okay, wow, like how commendable. But at the same time, like, oh, you must be crazy. Like you have a newborn or at home and you're out working. Like, how dare you? So some families and some of my clients were more receptive, while others were a little bit off-put by that. And like, okay, that's so weird. You're desperate to leave your child. You can't be a stay-at-home mom or
sad. And you anyways, and you're anyways dealing with that in yourself internally. And then, that's difficult.
Well, my baby was at home with my mom or maybe the nanny, right?
I'm sure it wasn't easy for you either.
It's, no matter what decision you decide upon, it's not easy. Like, just know that, So that was so frustrating because I wanted to tell them, I'm really trying my best. And I don't know if this is,
that makes me
the
want
best.
to cry. No, but I thank you for sharing that and being so transparent, because I know a lot of people, and especially working people, mothers and working mothers, can relate to that. And that's hard because you have to, and you learn, I'm sure you can attest to that as you go through motherhood and become more seasoned in a way, or, the years go by, you learn to kind of navigate through that and be able to not listen to those voices. You kind of just like quiet.
You have to tune things out and some people out.
Absolutely.
You have to be intentional and, with the people that you have around you, and don't be afraid of expelling, so to speak, some people, whether they're family or not. Not everybody has valuable insight. And like I said, what works for you may not work for me, and vice versa.
Right.
And it's a matter of, having that grace, having that understanding. Life is hard as it is.
Right.
And especially in this day and age, in the 21st century, I feel like we're bombarded with all this information, like read this book. I remember getting all of these, how to parent, how to listen, how to parent so your toddler will listen. And although I'm reading and touching upon some of those subjects within the, what is written, I feel like I'm just overwhelmed with information because everything is conflicting sometimes. So at the end of the day, it's just like, what feels right to you? So long as you're trying, you're being intentional with your time, and you're spending quality time with your children.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
It comes down to that, and really not bringing your own trauma.
Absolutely.
And, from your childhood.
We're going to
your parenting approach.
We have to go into that a little bit. Remind me towards the end, because I do want to touch on that. But yes, I agree with everything you've said. And obviously we've talked about how work, being a working mom and balancing that time between work and family can be quite demanding. Can you share any strategies or tips for maintaining this balance?
Like I said, meditation, listening to music, I don't know, painting, coloring, a hobby, whatever it is that makes you decompress.
You have to decompress.
You have to build that into your schedule.
Absolutely, because you go from a job or work to coming home and you're straight into another job, because that's what motherhood is, or being at home a lot of times. So that time to decompress.
And, and for example, I think I was talking to you about this a couple of weeks ago when we met. By the time that an actual person, whether another mom or a gentleman or whomever is starting work at 9 or 10, our, involved, implicated moms already have 3 or 4 hours under their belt. Like we're already kind of saturated with
absolutely
overstimulation. I'm exhausted.
With the sun, yeah.
Oh yeah. The rooster is singing and
there are no alarm clocks.
Yeah. It's like an innate, natural alarm that goes off in your body. It's like, okay, it's 6 o'clock or 5:30, whatever it is. And building that into your routine, as opposed to, like, let's say going on Facebook or social media and scrolling for 5-10 minutes. I don't know, read, listen to music, breathe.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to incorporate that.
I love that.
Have some type of routine. Get your warm water with lemon. Do something that will benefit you, whether physically, emotionally, mentally.
Absolutely.
And don't feel guilt. Or if mornings are hectic, which typically they are, right? We're getting ready to start our day. Mom's at work. Children go to school, drop-offs, right? And then you start your work, and then emails, conferences. I mean, it's just never-ending cycle. Maybe find time after you put your kids to bed. My husband always asks me, Denisa, why don't you go immediately to bed as soon as you put the kids to sleep? And I said, because the least I could do for myself is 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
Whether I watch Netflix, listen to a podcast.
To just check out.
Read 15 minutes. I don't know. Right?
Absolutely.
So it's almost like me time.
Yeah.
Like, I deserve it.
Yeah.
Although I know I'll be exhausted. It's the bare minimum, like 30 minutes, an hour.
Yeah.
That I can do for myself every single day. And, even schedule, hiking or whatnot to, at the end of the week or every 2 weeks, schedule something that what you will look forward to. Yeah. That is self-love, self-care.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that doesn't make you neglect your children. Going out and, I rediscovered this passion for motorcycles, and we do enduro and whatnot. And my husband and I went on a forest trip out in Romania in the summer. So that was really nice.
That's cool.
And, for a while there, I thought, gosh, I'm leaving my children with our nanny for half a day because it's a half a day endeavor. Like, how dare I? How dare I leave my children with my nanny who, they're being looked after, loved, tended to. They're not dying of hunger or dehydration.
And you're not doing it every day. It's not a pattern.
Mistreatment of any sort. How dare I go and do something for myself? Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, I should not have to justify self-love, self-care. Yeah. Period. That's just,
absolutely.
That's the norm. Whatever feels comfortable to you is what you should, engage with, and you should move forward with. Right. Now, if, let's say, you're abusing your children, or you're, I don't know,
or it's a pattern where you're always
it's a negative pattern of parenting. And not that they're, we have to be open. There is no set way, but however, there are some, common
outliers,
ground rules of you're not going to be, physically abusing your children or screaming at them, giving them alcohol at the age of 6. Right. So long as I'm not intentionally harming my children, I don't see anything wrong with me and, giving back to myself so that I can be the best possible version, number one, as an individual and as a mom. Absolutely. When you're well rested, when you look good, when you feel good, whatever that means to you, the concept of normalcy comes into play. Yeah. I studied public and global health and anthropology and psychology. And like I said, what you consider normal, I may not. Right. And vice versa. And that's okay. Yeah. It's a matter of, kind of seeing from your standpoint. And whether we disagree, we're still amicable. We're still respectful of each other's decisions. Right. Right. So again, so long as, and to reiterate, you're not harming your children emotionally, physically, right, mentally.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with all of that. Those were great tips. Thank you. What kind of support system or resources have been essential in helping you navigate the challenges of being a working mom?
We're blessed to be able to have a nanny, right?
It's amazing.
That's number one. Although my parents are still working, we have them as a support system too, so we certainly rely on them. And plus, like you touched upon, our children are not meant to be at our hips, on our sides, at our sides 24/7 for the duration of their childhood.
Right.
So with that being said, they should be benefiting and really engaging with their grandparents.
Yeah, it's important
other
for their
family
development.
members.
We think we're doing the best, but we're not doing the best by them because we're hindering a lot of these developmental stages that need to take place at certain times by constantly keeping them only next to us.
And they have so much to learn from so many other people.
Yeah.
You know? But at the same time, you know, for example, we're very strict with regards to food and intake and TV and right. So I think expressing and parenting out loud and saying, okay, these are, you know, this is our criteria, this is how we do things, and ensuring that whatever or whoever you have in your support system is going to be respectful of those boundaries of how you wish your children to be brought up.
Right.
Right. I am certainly not one to think that my children will not be eating donuts, but this is my opinion. I believe, you know, it's important to instill, you know, healthy food relationships, especially within the first 4 or 5 years of their life. And so giving them natural, unprocessed foods, I think is the, you know, a really ideal approach to setting them up for success.
Right. And that's the foundation, really, that's going to carry them throughout the rest of their lives. So how do you envision the future of working mothers, and what changes would you like to see in society to better support them?
Goodness. Like, again, parenting out loud, you know, telling your boss or manager or your supervisor, your colleagues, like, hey, I have a dentist appointment with my child or my children or whatever's going on. They're sick. I need to leave for, you know, from work. And like I said, having that balance, because there won't be this, you know, continuous, ideal, harmonious work schedule and life schedule at home where, you know, 5 hours or 6 or 7, 8 hours of work, you're committed without any interruptions. We're moms. It is bound to happen that somebody from school calls you. Your child is sick. Somebody bit him, right? If they're more in that toddlerhood stage. So I think saying, okay, and being, you know, just being transparent.
Absolutely.
Like this, I'm a mom.
The more of us,
I can't hide the fact that we're moms.
Yeah.
Like that I don't have children at home that get sick. Things happen.
Yeah.
You know, maybe your spouse is working overtime or they're, you know, pulled in one direction more. Maybe a tragedy or death has happened in the family. Right. So you need to be just outright transparent and honest and frank, brutally soft, and say, okay, I need to leave work early for my son's assembly. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I envision the future of working moms, having that, you know, leisure and that peace of mind and that ease to say, I'm a mom and I'm going to not neglect my roles and my, you know, my duties as a mom, as a working mom, just because I'm working.
Absolutely.
And it does not mean that I will be taking from work because again, it's, you know, everything in life is a compensation. There are, like I said, there are days that you work more, you're more committed, invested in your work because you have deadlines and it's your busy season or, you know, whatever the case may be. And then you have days or weeks where your children will require more of you,
right,
as a mom.
Yeah, in different seasons, for sure. And I think the more working moms stand up with that mentality, the more things are going to change because they won't have a choice. I think, especially after COVID, with a lot of people working remotely from home, things have already kind of started shifting. And I do wish that for sure for the future. And I love what you mentioned. Can you share a memorable moment or accomplishment from your journey as a working mom that brings you pride?
A working moment that brings me pride. I think just being authentic. You know, I'm a mom of 2. I hope to grow my family. And relating with people that have the same morals that I do.
Yeah.
I'm a chameleon in my workplace. I can adjust and adapt to different personalities. So that's a plus. But overall, I love the person I'm becoming as an individual and as a mom.
Yeah.
And as a career woman.
Proud of
because
that,
the more
sure.
I progress in life and I'm evolving and discovering more of myself and how I do things and why I do things the way that I do and why I think the way that I think, the self-discovery journey, I feel it's just revolutionary to just be yourself, again, to be raw. Some people, you know, may appreciate my posts on social media because they hit home to many people. And some people are scared even, or I can't find the adjectives right now, but they're reluctant to post their true sentiments and feelings and emotions as raw as they feel, maybe because they don't have the talent necessarily to put it into words, or they don't have the guts to say, okay, this is a yes until it's a no. And when it's a no, it's a hard no.
Right.
Right. So setting those boundaries and parameters of,
And being unapologetic about it.
being unapologetic as to why I parent the way that I do. Again, so long as I am not harming my child.
Right.
You know, and really working through our traumas, because we all have traumas that have been passed from 5-6 generations downward from our ancestors, of depicting and understanding and coming to the realization that we need to keep ourselves continuously sane and evolving, and, you know, and to just be receptive, to be like a sponge, to be like a toddler, to be like children.
Yeah.
You know, always evolving, being receptive to new information, but also kind of filtering out, you know, people that may not have the best intentions at heart, or maybe you that don't have the same values that you do, but nice, you know, in a nice manner, and gracefully say, okay, thank you so much. And kind of keep it at that.
Right.
Success comes in different forms. It's just a matter of, you know, how you perceive it. And it's like small wins every single day.
Yeah.
Right.
And motherhood definitely unlocks a different facet, I think, of each person who becomes a mom. And it's just been really cool to see her journey. And I have to say, when you are real like that and authentic and unapologetic, like you said, you attract what you are. So I think it's been cool to see. I'm glad that we reconnected.
As am I.
After all this time, because it definitely helps to have people in your circle who think, you know, who not only think, but live out, you know, things not 100% the same, but this similar to you, and who can just be there in that corner to support you. Right. So,
and at the end of the day, we're all individuals, right? And I think that's what makes us unique. But coming together, you know, in the consensus of, okay, let's see what is best for us. You know, having our children play together, but still, you know, in ensuring that they're not going to be wild and hitting each other, because that's something that, you know, is part of that developmental process of them learning how to regulate their emotions. There is no, you know, you have to do this. When Bobby, your child, who's 3 or 4 years old, is hitting or not wanting to share, you know, his toys, then you have to do this. There is no, it's just a matter of being respectful, you know, and again, if something is to happen with regards to children fighting, or it just kind of, you know, coming into play and saying, okay, that's not nice, and really getting down to their level, right? Being authentic and being gentle. I'm part of so many different Facebook groups, gentle parenting, and I admire. I mean, I wonder, I wish I could be a little fly into the lives of moms that keep their cool at all times. I have had moments where I thought, okay, I'm going to lose it. So it's a matter of just breathing and saying, okay, this too shall pass.
yeah.
At the end of the day, I love the person I'm becoming. And although some people may not see eye to eye with me, I've had messages on social media saying, oh gosh, this is a cry for attention, what you're posting. You're not everybody's cup of tea or champagne. That's
People
fine.
message you that.
Yeah.
You have too much time on your hands to sit there and write that out.
And that's fine. You know, sometimes I just read them and just giggle.
They're definitely at a different stage in their self-discovery.
And that's okay.
That's all we can say.
And that's all we can say. I mean, you know, I respect their opinion. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I will continue to, you know, evolve on a personal, a career, every type of level, hopefully, right? By, you know, engaging in thought-provoking conversations, whether it's, you know, getting a therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist. I know you're in your master's program for that. So really building these healthy boundaries and healthy coping mechanisms as a working mom, as an individual. Overall, I
Love it. I love
Yeah,
everything.
I have like 5 million tabs open in my head, just like my laptop.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so much to be discussed, even on just one of the questions. So, I wish we had more time to.
Oh, you'll come back for sure. We would love for you to come back. So lastly, just to kind of wrap up, what message or inspiration would you like to leave with our listeners, especially those who may be facing challenges as working moms?
Okay, this one I have to grab my notes here. Give me a second. Ultimately, the opinion that really matters is yours. If somebody doesn't agree with what you are doing or how you are behaving, don't feel pressured into changing. Have the courage of your convictions, even when others disagree or don't understand. It's not their place to understand.
Yes.
Number one, let's see. Forgiveness sets you free. I'm an honest person, and having my integrity brought into question momentarily results in sometimes anger and bitterness. And then harboring this would ultimately have me into harboring this would ultimately have had absolutely no effect on anybody else but me, right? So when when I keep all of this bottled up negative emotions in me, the only person that it's affecting is me.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of releasing that out into the universe and saying, okay, this person, these words, this person's actions or lack thereof is not for me. And I'm not going to let it affect me, because it'll just, perpetuate into this avalanche, right? I have anxiety because I'm such a perfectionist. And I've learned that being a perfectionist, as much as it's a blessing, I think it's more of a curse. Because I'm the type of person that either I do it all or I don't do anything at all.
That's me. That's, yep.
So sometimes, that
you have to do it 150%.
I need to be that catalyst to just start doing something, and then it kind of falls into place. But I have that fear of, again, judgment sometimes, or fear of failure. And then I know I'm sure all the moms really ever now have seen this on social media. This is a quote: "In our society, a mother suffers guilt no matter what she does. If she's on top of her kids, making sure everything's okay, she's called a helicopter mom. And if she lets them run around as she sits on the side, talking to a friend, she's neglectful. If she prefers cooking from scratch and organic everything, her kids are going to go crazy on junk food when they go to someone else's house, or when they break the leash, as the Romanian community tells me. And if she feeds them donuts and muffins for breakfast some mornings because she's in a rush or just because, then her kids are unhealthy. If she breastfeeds and doesn't produce enough milk and her baby isn't thriving, then she's a failure. But when she adds formula, she's more of a failure for not giving her baby all breast milk. Yeah. If she stays at home with her kids, she should be working. How can her family financially keep up? But if she's working, she's met with they're only little ones.
Yep.
You blink and they're, it's time's up.
Yes. Yep.
If she hasn't lost the postpartum weight, gosh, she let herself go. But if she did, wow, she must not eat. She's anorexic. She spends hours working out. She's so self-invested, and she neglects her children. So in a society that knows everything and places too many expectations on moms, if you listen to everyone else, you're always going to fall short. Yep. So don't listen and stop feeling bad for your choices. Throw those internalized, unrealistic expectations away and do what's best for you and your family. It's called your family for a reason. Besides, if you love your children and try, you're a good mom. So I think kind of putting this at the forefront in everyday dealings is legendary, revolutionary, because there is no set way of parenting, of, womanhood, parenthood, motherhood, childhood. It's just a matter of what feels natural, organic, and best for you and your family unit.
I love that. You ended that so perfectly. And I love that quote. Nothing else left to say. I think for now, we really just dove pretty deep for you guys. And I hope that you guys, I know that you're going to resonate with a lot that was said today. And I just want to thank Denisa so much for making
your time.
Thank you for making time in her schedule to come join us. I know she's super busy, and also just opening up and being so transparent and genuine. It's very commendable and inspiring. And I know that it will encourage more people to open up about their journey with motherhood.
So. Yeah, I want this to be kind of a call to action. Just be yourself. Don't be too, much of a critic on your own behalf or others, as much as possible. Yeah. Right. We're not perfect. I'm not the perfect mom, the perfect wife or friend or daughter, granddaughter. but I try my best.
Yeah, we do our best. Yep.
I really try my best.
Yeah.
And I'm getting emotional here. You know, at the end of the day, when I go to sleep, I have that peace of mind. I have not intentionally done wrong onto anybody. And I try to be the best possible version of myself. Again, different seasons, you know, kind of going with the flow in some aspects of life, but being the best possible version of yourself, whether it's, you know, taking care of yourself physically, and then ultimately, you know, that transpires into how you are manifesting your, you know, career goals, how you're parenting, you're well rested, you're thriving at work, you come home, you're successful, right? So there's so much to say about motherhood. And it's, again, so multifaceted and so complex, but, you know, have grace.
And your passion definitely translates. Your passion for motherhood and for being a mom and mothering your kids definitely translates to me, and I know to a lot of the listeners. So thank you so much again.
Appreciate you. You're a wonderful mom, and I'm excited to, you know, kind of tag team certain aspects that are challenging.
Yeah,
growing up with, you know, the Romanian community, and having a lot of that backlash at the same time.
Taking the best and leaving, you know, what doesn't work for you and your family. And you definitely mentioned that, so I love it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please go ahead and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, so you can keep up with new episode that we'll have coming out again in 2 weeks. If you have any suggestions or you want to make any comments, go ahead and do that through our free suggestion box, which is in our link tree on our Instagram. Once again, thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.